Part 6, The Origin of Material Living Beings. We convey to you a part of the sayings from Spiritual Energies with the topic, The Origin of Material Living Beings, by Aljibisa Stojanovic, who transferred the sayings received in deep meditation into the book, Man, Origin and Future. After the creation of dead matter, the Creator came to the conclusion, about a third of the century of the cosmos, that matter should be brought to life and given the same possibilities that energy already had. Therefore, material living beings represent a combination of the process of creation of dead matter with additional intelligent energy originating from the energy of the Holy Spirit and acting on this creation with the life wave emitted by the energy of the Christ tree. At first, living matter represented extremely simple living beings, incomparably simpler than viruses, which developed very slowly. A sudden jump in the development of these beings came at one point due to the need to maintain the status quo on one of the planets, which represented at that time a significant product in the material sphere. The task of these material beings was to stop the degradation of the dead matter on that planet due to the continuous delamination of the solid matter from the surface of the planet, which was breaking down into its component parts which were of a gaseous nature. In order to preserve the stability of the planet's surface, it was necessary to install elements that would stop this process, and then to continuously maintain it in that state. The best suited for this task were living creatures whose extinct remains would form a protective blanket on the surface of the planet that would further protect it from disintegration. For this purpose, the energy of Christ created a special program for these simple microorganisms, which represented a great leap in comparison to all that had been created up to that time. Regardless of their small size, they possessed two characteristics: extremely fast reproduction by dividing into several parts, after a very short time since their creation, and a very short lifespan that practically ended in the place where it was created. Using for nutrition the abundance of useful gases that surrounded this planet, these microorganisms multiplied rapidly, and their remains simply stuck to the surface of the planet, creating a thin protective layer against further decay of the rocks. Microorganisms formed in this way managed to change relatively quickly, due to their level of development, adapting to the new situations on that planet. Relatively quickly, after these microorganisms, Christ's energy created others with similar tasks, in different parts of the cosmos. In the case of more complex tasks, the selection and crossbreeding of microorganisms was carried out in order to meet newly created needs. In this way, gradually, over a long period of time, a greater number of types of microorganisms were created, which became larger and larger. It means that after a long time, in which there were only beings that were incomparably simpler than any microorganism, there was the creation of new, more complex organisms whose purpose of existence was to perform a certain task. Gradually, the rest of the plant and animal life of the cosmos began to develop from these microorganisms. In order for the living material world to develop, there had to be changes in the life wave. From the first material living being, until today, the life wave gradually changed, completing its content and mode of action with the needs of the previous material living world and new elements for the creation of new material living species. Christ's energy will continue to change the life wave in the future in accordance with the Creator's needs for new content within material living beings. The first material living beings in the cosmos began to develop in the very center of the cosmos in order to be under as much control as possible and to receive as much help in development as possible. These beings, in the center of the cosmos, have reached a level of development approximately that of a human for about half a century of the cosmos. They gradually spread from the center to the periphery, but their development was very slow. Thus, material living beings on half the diameter of the cosmos, reached the level of human development during 75% of the age of the cosmos. After that period, more developed material living beings appeared in the outer half of the cosmos, which for about 80% of the cosmos century not only overtook the level of human development, but also reached the level of common consciousness, and for about 90% of the cosmos century, some of these races reached the highest level for material living beings. That 10%, from that time until now, is an infinitely long time. This means that in this peripheral part of the cosmos, as the most backward, there have been material living beings with the highest achieved level of development for an infinitely long time. Compared to that, the entire development of man on Earth does not last a single moment. Therefore, the level of development of people is very modest and exactly in line with the length of development. Material living beings are mostly inhabited on planets in living conditions that can be significantly different from those on planet Earth. In terms of size, they range from smaller than a virus to up to 1,000 meters. Their lifespan is from a moment to 100,000 years. Their intelligence ranges from none to very high, with common consciousness. Some of these civilizations exceed the intelligence of more than half the races of immaterial beings. The number of individuals within the race ranges from 10,000 to 10 at 27 degrees. The nearest highly developed civilization is called Prony, and it is inhabited on one of the more distant planets of the star Sirius. Material living beings developed incomparably slower than immaterial ones, because they had a problem with changing their bodies. Their bodies changed when living conditions changed, which significantly slowed down intellectual and spiritual development. In addition, a prerequisite for reaching high development of an individual and civilization is that the body should be larger than 1 meter so that it would be possible to form an aura around it that would have the conditions for more serious development. However, bodies larger than 2 meters had no effect on spiritual development. All material beings in the cosmos were created as a result of one idea of Christ's energy, but under different living conditions on their planets and other habitats, they gradually changed and moved away, so that today, after practically infinite time, these differences have become so great that some living beings from different regions of the cosmos have no similarities whatsoever. The same, only to a lesser extent, exists in the living world of planet Earth, with the fact that the differences in the cosmos are enormously greater. The treasury of sacred knowledge thanks you for your interest, and sends you a lot of spiritual patience and love.